All right, we're going to show you the tail of the tape, and there's not a lot between them. They're the same age. There's an inch between them in height and a half-pound in weight difference, and that's all. So nothing really to show you there. The difference, Jim Miller, 6-1. Anthony Morrison, 4-2. Let's take the rules, the unified rules of mixed martial arts. It's the 10-point must scoring system. Only the referee can assess a foul. Absolutely no strikes to the spine or the back of the head. No groin attacks. A fighter cannot hold the cage. There's no downward pointing elbow strikes. There's no throat strikes, heel kicks to the kidney, and there's no kicking or kneeing a grounded fighter to the head, that is. Keep that in mind. There's other rules, and Paul and I will bring them to your attention as they become pertinent to this fight. We're set to go. Here we go. Round number one. 3 5-minute rounds for the CFFC Lightweight Championship. Here we go. In the dark trunks is Jim Miller. He's 6-1. He's the champ. And in the white trunks, the challenger, Anthony Morrison from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This is Cage Fury Fighting Championship.
Now, surprisingly right away, Morrison the one wanting to take the fight to the ground and not wasting any time and exerting a huge strength advantage and slamming Miller down onto his shoulder and the back of his head, wedging him up against the cage and getting to work, trying to pull his head out of there and get to work with some ground and pound.
Well, of course, Miller, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu expert, trying to get himself in a position where he can grab onto this guy, try to get a hold of an arm. Right now, he's just satisfied to pull it close to him so that there isn't, well, now the distance has been created as he kicks, wraps those legs around the head, Paul.
Yeah, great ground technique being shown by Miller, absolutely refusing to allow his guard to be passed, and now attacking the left leg of Morrison, going for a toe hold. It looks like Morrison may be in trouble here.
He's got the toe hold. Can he hang on to it? No. Man, that's what I'm talking about when you talk about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys. You think he's done, and all of a sudden it turns around. He's got him in a rear naked.
And look how fast the fortunes can change in this fight. Miller now solidly clamped onto the back of Morrison. Morrison in dire trouble. Miller has one hook in to secure himself. Can't quite get underneath the chin of Morrison yet, so getting to work with his right fist. And now trying to work on a body triangle, which is even more way to secure the body than with the double hooks in. This is deep water for Anthony Morrison.
It's unbelievable. Miller really goes, he went from what I thought was going to be a rear naked chokehold, and all of a sudden he's got him moving him into an armbar position here.
Looks now like he's got a reverse triangle hold, but I don't know how tight that is. It is conceivable that a fighter could possibly get a tap out from this position, but there's no telling. Morrison looks like he's moving well, and now popping his head free, but Miller just chaining his submissions beautifully, now going for the armbar.
He's trying for it. Morrison hanging on to him, holding him tightly. Now he wants to get in a position to blast him a shot. Up kicks by Miller, holding him off. This is good stuff. Now he bends the leg down, trying to get inside, but look at the way Miller creates the distance so he can't get at him. Now he finally is unable to unleash a blast, ripping him to the body. Up kicks continue to hold him off. Boy, this Jim Miller can fight from his back, can he?
He's doing such a great job. I can't say enough about the ground game of Jim Miller. He's just seek perfectly from submission to submission to submission, used his feet extremely well to keep Morrison at a distance, and now dragging him inside and holding a tight guard. Now it looks like he's possibly going for a gogoplata choke if he can get the instep across the throat of Anthony Morrison.
Well, Morrison kind of tried to stand up and get his way out of that.
Now looking for an omoplata shoulder crank and just crushing the head of Morrison down into the mat. No matter what Morrison does, it feels like Miller's got an antidote for it and also a response to it.
Into the open guard of Morrison is Miller, and that doesn't bother him a bit. Now he closes the guard. He tries to create a little bit of distance here so he can do a bit of ground and pound here. He really is being held in there by Morrison. Morrison doing a nice job defensively, trying to hold this guy up, and so far he has. He tries to get a forearm in there, and you see him holding him close, folks? That's because he doesn't want to get nailed with any shots. Finally, he breaks free of that. This is tough stuff by both guys on the canvas.
Morrison doing a job opening his guard. Usually I don't advocate a fighter closing his guard, but in this case, I think it would be a good move for Morrison. He'd be well advised after that display of technical mastery on the ground by Miller to close the guard, try to stall the action, and right now when they get the stand-up that the referee has just implemented, try to force this into a kickboxing match.
Paul, just as you said he should close the guard, that's exactly what he did, and he forced the referee to move and stand the back up. Can Morrison take advantage of this opportunity, though? And again, they're right into the clinch game. Let's see if we see any knees on the inside, any Muay Thai sort of kicks. Pressing him up against the cage is Anthony Morrison. Now he gets a bit of room. He tries for the Muay Thai knee on the inside, but can't quite land it. It's tied up here now. Who's going to get the throw? Trying to trip him. Nice sprawl there. and down they go.
I was just about to say that Miller made a bad move by allowing Morrison to have his back, but instantly swiveling, attacking the arm, and now setting himself up for what looks like an armbar setup again.
Well, he gave up the back to Morrison, and that's always a bad idea. Now he's got kind of
He's got the leg across the head, but no, Morrison gets away. Morrison just being stymied and stifled and stuffed on every single attempt. Miller walking away with this first round.
Unbelievable. He had side control to Morrison for just a second, and all of a sudden he slaps right into the guard of Jim Miller. Now he closes it up, let him wrap up that head.
Triangle choke attempt here. No knowing how tight this is. He's got to get his right foot pulled back toward the shoulder. We are in the waning seconds of this round. A tap out.
He's got him. He did it.
Seconds from the end of the round. And Miller closes a triangle choke after an unbelievable display of groundwork and walks away with this fight.
At the very closing seconds, Morrison had the idea that he could get out of this. Jim Miller closed right up on him. What a great finish for him, executing the tap out. Great victory for Miller, and really good ground game by both guys. Interesting stuff.
Well, he's showing the effects of training with Renzo Gracie. You know, you train with accredited Gracie camp, and if you learn what they're trying to teach you, you're going to walk away with unbelievable ground skills, and that's exactly what Jim Miller showed us tonight. Looking at the CompuBox stats, the ground strikes in round one, also in the favor of Miller, but not by as much as you would think. 12 strikes landed out of 15 thrown. Morrison did well for himself with 10 strikes landed out of 15 thrown, but the strikes were not the story here. The submission game was, and it's a tap out by triangle choke for Jim Miller, still the champion.
But the amazing thing here, when you take a look at the 65% landed, you know, folks, in boxing, a good round is considered 33, or 35% is excellent, 40% is sensational. Both of these guys landing 65%, Paul.
Yeah, like I said, whenever you put a guy down on his back and hold him still, it's a lot easier to hit him. We're going to have a much higher connection percentage in this sport than in boxing.
But you got to be in condition to hold it. Here's the replay.
And here we see again early in the fight, and again Morrison surprising everyone by looking to put the fight down on the ground himself, but Miller going there willingly, knowing that he had an incredible ground game. Morrison not intimidated in the least, picking Miller up, carrying him across the ring, and slamming him down onto his shoulder in the back of his head. Here we see again Morrison walking clear across the ring, and boom! Doing what he can to take some of the starch out of Jim Miller, but Miller's been there before, done that before. Here we see again, beautiful setup for the triangle choke. Miller getting his right leg across, pushing off the cage for extra purchase, cinching in that choke. It actually looked to me like that choke was too far down the shoulder and back, but he used his hands to assist the choke, pulled the head down, tap out, game over. Jim Miller now 7-1 and still the CFFC lightweight champion.
And that's why great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu effort. And again, you talk about the Gracie family and the Renzo Gracie training, and it certainly showed in this one. That was the difference in the fight as it worked out in the closing seconds of round number one. Well, let's get all the official particulars now as we go to our ring announcer, Chris Garrity. Chris?
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Kevin Mulhall has called a stop to this bout at 4 minutes and 56 seconds of the first round. Your winner by way of tap out due to triangle choke, and still CFFC lightweight champion, Jim Miller.
Well, Jim Miller, just a terrific effort there. His record moves to 7-1 now. He retains the CFFC lightweight championship, and this is another guy in Cage Fury Fighting Championship lore. You're going to see more of this guy. He's a terrifically trained fighter. I'm really, really impressed. Don't forget, this guy is from Sparta, New Jersey. And for all of you that saw the movie 300, the Battle of Thermopylae, this is something to be said. This guy is a warrior. Okay, our man Bobby Maloney standing by. Bobby, take it.
Jim, it almost looked like you were baiting him there a couple times on the ground because you were looking for that submission early. Talk to me about a couple times you almost caught him.
I was just throwing everything I had at him. You know, that's the way I like to do it. It's just every second make him defend. He was beating the hell out of me. That's why I looked like I was baiting him.
Congratulations, Jim. 7-1. Successful defense of your title. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, the comments of Jim Miller. Watch this again as you see the tap out here, Paul.
And once again, you know, this is the thing I see with triangle chokes done by excellent ground technicians, is that sometimes they can have that foot what looks like too far down the back. If you see where his right foot is, technically that's not really a tight choke. but he pulls the head down, and it's tight enough to get the tap out and extend his title reign, extend his victory streak to 7-1.
Now, Paul, we have a lot of crossover fans now, boxing fans that are watching. Tell me exactly in that hole where the pressure was coming on his neck and throat that made him submit.
Well, when you have a triangle choke applied on you, your one arm is crossed across your body, which means that your shoulder is digging into your carotid artery. And with the nature of the way the opponent's legs are wrapped around, his leg is digging into the other carotid artery. And by pulling the head down, it tightens both of those carotids, closes off the blood supply, gives the opponent no option but to tap or pass.